hello, and happy marvelous Monday, everybody. I'm so excited that you're joining me today. I am Carissa, the landlord and tenant coach, and this is what I do each and every Monday. I bring you information for landlords and tenants to help the entire rental community. And so today I'm talking about fair housing discrimination, but specifically, a landlord was sued for multi millions of dollars for illegally discriminating um, in their advertisement. And so I promise that the information that I share is not legal advice. However, I will be sharing the industry's best tips and practices. So please let me know where you are tuned in from. I want to acknowledge you. I see some people who are chiming in. If you have questions, if you have comments, remarks, or observations, go ahead and throw it in the comment section for me. Thank you so much for tuning in on the Facebook channels, for the viewers who are tuned in on LinkedIn, as well as YouTube and Twitter. Thank you so much. Hello, boss lady. Thank you for checking in North Carolina. Hey, Kim, I see you checking in South Carolina. Listen, I'm super excited to share this information. I don't know why I'm excited because it is really heartbreaking when I have to share these stories. And so it is my hope that at the end of the day, that something that I share is of value and that somebody else will take heed to this information, to the tips that I'm sharing with you. Because listen, if you are a housing provider, if you're self-managing your property, if you are in any type of professional capacity, in the rental housing space, this information is paramount. Like we need to have these conversations until the numbers can begin to decrease. And from what I see, guys, doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon. And so I'm going to share some real life scenarios. I'm sorry, real life examples. They're not hypothetical scenarios. They are real life active situations that have actually taken place. Landlords have been. All right, so there is a storm passing. So let me apologize in advance. We have a storm that's passing over. So if the feed goes out, guys, I do apologize. I have no control over nature, but um, unfortunately, the numbers are increased. When I say numbers, meaning the amount of landlords that are being sued because of discrimination. So here's the thing when it comes to discrimination. And I've had these conversations with colleagues of mine who are owners of rental property. Sometimes discrimination can happen and it's not intentional, right? And I believe that sometimes good people who are trying to do the right thing. I'm talking about owners and landlords. They're trying to do the right thing with their advertising, but sometimes the sometimes, it's just unfortunate because it's just a few words that could be off that will cause the advertisement to be something that they never intended. I see your comment. Thank you so much for that. You said that the storm hit early. Listen, that we're here, right? It's nature. We can't control it. So again, please bear with me. Um, okay, I hear you. Thank you for that, Jackie. Let's see if I can fix that. Unfortunately, Jackie, I have a storm that's passing over. So let me see if I can fix the audio. But thank you all so much for tuning in. And again, so today I'm touching on again housing discrimination, but this time it's in advertising. It's what the landlord put in their advertising. And so what I'm sharing today is a topic. It's covered by fair housing laws, federal fair housing laws. Jackie, is that better? Jack, if you still there, let me know if that's better, if that made a difference. Um, and so fair housing laws are set in place and it's to prevent discrimination. So it's for rental property as well as property that's for sale. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to stick to the rental property, right? Because that's the space that we're in for landlords as well as for tenants. So I'm going to share some information today. I'm going to share tips for landlords. I'm going to share some tips for tenants. All right. And I hope that you're listening carefully to what I'm about to share, because for the past 2 weeks, I've been touching on this very specific matter, and I'm getting more stories and I'm getting more calls. I'm getting more emails about landlords who've been sued for housing discrimination. All right. And so the laws are in place to prevent um, landlords from I can talk today, I really can, discriminated against tenants, right? So in rental property, and it doesn't matter if the property is in some sort of housing subsidy program or not. The federal laws are in place to protect tenants as a whole. So let's just start there. But I do want to take a deep dive into this conversation today because I know that some of you have been concerned about the topics and the subject, the outcome of the stories that I've been sharing because I received your emails. And so I just want to touch on this a little bit more. All right, so let me see. Okay, Lynette, you said whether it's a landlord for houses or apartment buildings, there has to be something to be done with them being false advertising. I do agree with you on that. Hey, Dee, thank you so much for tuning in. And so, that's what we're touching on today, housing discrimination, but in advertising. All right. Because I think that the conversation is not had in some communities. Maybe this information is not being trickled down to places and to people who are placing these ads, right? And so, for instance, it could be a Craigslist advertisement. And I have seen some Craigslist ads that has definitely violated fair housing laws. So, for instance, um, let me come back to you here. Thank you so much for the LinkedIn page. I love what you are doing to enlighten others. Listen, it is my absolute pleasure. This is what I do each and every Monday at 7:30 p.m. And hopefully, listen, at the end of the day, my goal is to share information. It costs nothing but your time to show up. Get this free information, make changes to your rental property business, make changes to your practice if you are guilty or if you know someone who is. So that's the end goal for me, just trying to make an impact and a difference. So let me just share some information today because there are multiple landlords who have been sued for violating fair housing laws. Okay. And I know that housing discrimination, it's something that, let me say this, some people don't set out to discriminate. Then there are those who do, right? And so I want to I want this to be as useful as possible. And so if you have questions, please ask your questions. I would rather that you ask questions, whether I'm live, I'm on the air, or you email me, because I want to make sure that the information I'm sharing is clear. So, but housing discrimination, it is illegal in the United States. And that includes public housing, it includes private housing, it includes housing of, maybe participants are in some sort of housing subsidy program, whether it's local, state, or federal. Fair housing laws are in place to protect tenants. So, first and foremost, I want to cover who is protected. So, let me just show you what is covered under fair housing laws. All right. So, fair housing laws, it prevents discrimination. Uh, Landlords and owners cannot discriminate based off of race, off of color, national origin, religion, sex, which does include now gender identity or sexual orientation, familial status. So that means families or tenants who have kids. You cannot discriminate because there are a whole lot of kids in the household or children. You cannot discriminate against anybody because of their disability. And you also cannot discriminate against tenants because of their participation in some sort of housing subsidy program. Income is also a protected class. Okay. And so now let me just also just put a plug in here because this law is in effect now. However, it doesn't really, I'll say there are exceptions to the rule. So the law mainly applies to landlords who own more than 4 rental units. All right. So 4 or more rental units. Now, if it's under that and the owner's living in the building, then there are a few exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, owners with 4 or more rental units, these laws apply to them. So I'm just going to go over some um, prohibited practices. So, for instance, here's one that I have seen on Craigslist. I mentioned Craigslist a little earlier. So, it is absolutely okay for landlords to say they do not accept pets. However, it is not okay if you see in an advertisement that children are not allowed. Okay. Pets not accepted, not a problem. But children not allowed, there that does violate fair housing laws. And so, as a matter of fact, I'm going to share some more examples because I want this to hit home. You cannot say that um, no Christians allowed, right? There are just things that you absolutely cannot say under no condition at all. So if you put it in writing, so here's what I say: if you put it in writing, that creates a paper trail. So it's documented that a landlord or property manager or someone is violating the laws. Don't put it in writing. Don't have a conversation about it. Don't send an email. Listen, I have sent I have sent requests to some of my colleagues because they've been sending emails to their staff saying to that they were tightening up their laws and I'm sorry, not the laws. They were tightening up their policies and they did not want to rent to tenants who were participating in the Section 8 program. And in the email, which was forwarded to me, it stated that they have tightened up the rules and the regulations as much as humanly possible to try to prevent Section 8 tenants from renting any of their properties. And this is a large, when I say a large company, I mean a large company. They have multiple rental property in multiple states. That is absolutely a no-no. And so the fact that they would send that to staff and someone in their staff sent that out, that got that owner to a lot of trouble. And so this is one of the landlords who had to pay a lot of money, like millions of dollars, because they were discriminating. It is against the law. And even if you're having these conversations, whether it's behind closed doors, please, whatever you do, um, understand what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot say, and watch what you're saying and who you are saying it to, because again, what you don't know can and will hurt you. And so sometimes you can have these conversations and you think that they're trusted conversations. Someone share the conversation and then there's a follow-up with an email that creates a paper trail. And so this one of these landlords learned a very valuable lesson. They learned the hard way of what not to do. Okay, I see that. Thank you so much. Okay, I see your comment. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, so again, a landlord can absolutely say that they don't accept pets, but they cannot say that they don't accept kids. They cannot say that they want or they don't want gays. They cannot say that they will not rent to transgenders. You cannot put that in writing. You cannot discriminate against people for that because you will get sued. Okay. If you own property and you have maybe a property management company, please check with the practice of that company to find out how they are advertising. One of the things that I shared a little earlier with one of my clients is that make sure that you also have that fair housing logo in all of your advertisements, whether it's social media, whether it's in writing, whether it's in a newspaper, a magazine, or whatever. You want to cover you, but find out what the laws are. Just do a little research before you pay for advertisement to put in the paper, to put in the magazine. Just find out that what you are putting out is legal. Because again, what you don't know can and will hurt you. I would rather someone ask a question before putting something out there they're not really sure about, especially for professionals or individuals who are getting into the space for the very first time as a housing provider. I have a young lady who reaches out to me on a regular basis because she's a new property manager and she just have questions. Okay, well, Carissa, can I do this? Carissa, can I say that? Ask questions versus not knowing and just jumping out there, assuming that you know what you can and can't do, only to find out that the law will bite you in the butt and it will cost a lot of money. So it could cost thousands of dollars, it could cost millions of dollars. It just depends on how deep the discrimination goes back, how far back it goes, rather, how many families are impacted, how you make people feel. Have you done damage because you discriminated against people because they have housing? Ask questions. I'm available. I'm here every Monday giving out this information. And so I know a lot of you watch and you email me. I appreciate that. Some of you text me. I appreciate that. Some of you call, you have questions. I answer your questions. That's what this is all about. It's all about community. And let me just focus on tenants for a minute, because I want tenants to understand that they have rights. And if you find that there is a landlord who is discriminating against you, whether it's under any of these protected classes that I've shared today, under federal fair housing laws, or any, if you feel like someone is discriminating against you regarding anything, please reach out to your local office. Ask questions. You can contact HUD, you can call, you can email, you can fax. There is a lot of information in the community for tenants, but also for landlords. But I want tenants to understand how valuable you are and the role that you play. At the end of the day, any landlord, anyone who's in business, they have rental property, they want to rent it out, they are in business to stay in business. And I don't think that a lot of people, let me not say a lot of people, I don't think that people are setting out to discriminate. Some are, because we do know that that does happen. But for the most part, people who are just getting into the practice, or maybe they are relying on someone else to manage the property. They're trying to do the right thing, but they just don't really know what they can and cannot do. And I think that sometimes, they just make costly mistakes that they never intended to happen to them. So sometimes, and unfortunately, bad things do happen to good people. But again, just ask questions, find out what the laws are. There are federal laws, there are state laws, and there are local laws in place. And if you follow those laws as a landlord, it should help guide you on how you're running and operating your rental property business. And so this is one of the things that I put a great emphasis on when I'm talking to landlords and owners and new property managers, because I want you to realize how significant you are. Okay, because tenants, they need a place to call home, and owners, they need tenants to rent the rental properties, right? And so it just comes full circle. And that's why I share this information. Okay, so let me pull up your question here, Lynette. You said you pulled your ledger from your complex. They have so much false information that you had to pull your cashier's checks, your money order receipts. Glad that you have that. It was retaliation, which is why you didn't get the other apartment that you were trying to get. It was never about that. They ran out of renewals, straight BS. Listen, I know that things happen, and listen, sometimes people, and it's heartbreaking sometimes when you see, that people are creating rules, they're creating things, they're intentionally putting up barriers or obstacles to prevent others from moving forward, whether it's a transfer, and that's happened. Sometimes it would prevent you from not just transferring, but even renewing your lease, right? But it's not what you know, is what you can prove. And so I'm glad that you were able to share that information. And so let me just pause here, because again, I know that I have a lot of landlords who watch, but I also have tenants who watch. And so from the tenant's perspective, we just saw an example where a landlord is doing things to intentionally not renew the lease. But now let me just also say this, that sometimes, now this could be discrimination. I'm not going to flat out deny that. And I'm not saying that this applies to you, but sometimes, if and when tenants are maybe less desirable by that landlord or the property manager, sometimes you'll see things like this happening. So it's not anything that's new. You're not the last tenant, unfortunately, that will experience that. And I do apologize that you are experiencing that as a tenant. And for any tenant who has had to go through discrimination, I apologize that you had to go through that, because nobody should have to deal with discrimination, housing discrimination, when all you're trying to do is just keep a roof over your head. Hey, Jennifer, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm talking about, Jennifer, tonight, I'm talking about rental discrimination by way of advertising. Another landlord, unfortunately, I'm talking about today. As a matter of fact, there are a couple of landlords who have been sued for discriminating because of their advertising. And so please look at how and where you are advertising. Please make sure that you include language that only talks about the property, right? Don't talk about the type of tenants that you have. Please don't talk about the type of tenants that you rent to or you won't rent to, because usually and in many cases, that's how a lot of landlords are getting caught up in these type of suits that are being filed against them. And I just wanted to share this information today because I talked about it last week, and I thought that might have been the end of it. But I received several emails where we're discovering that more landlords have been sued. And listen, I said it a few months ago that we're going to see more lawsuits because people have been able to do things under the radar. And now that education is freely available to all, right? Tenants know their rights, and tenants are starting to take action, as they should, right? Because let me just put it like this. To those of you who are in the management space, whether you own or you manage, think of it like this. Would you want, would you be comfortable knowing or allowing maybe your mother or your grandparents to go through these type of matters that some of these tenants are faced with and are dealing with? I mean, I don't know too many people who would willingly allow someone that they truly care about to be put in and to remain in these type of situations and conditions. And so I just want to say again, just treat everybody the same. Treat everybody good. Look at your policy. Look at how you are screening. Look at how you are advertising. Look at how you are treating people in general. Because if you treat everybody the same, that will minimize your chance of being caught up in some sort of fair housing complaint against you, a suit filed against you, whereas you end up having to pay thousands up to millions of dollars due to damage, right? I don't want to have to share a story about you as a landlord or owner. So I hope that this information has been helpful today. And it's unfortunate that I had to talk about it again, because I've been sharing this information, and unfortunately, we're here. It's still here. So that's what I wanted to share today. The landlord who was fined millions of dollars for advertising discrimination. True story. It's unfortunate, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, because there are a lot of people who just don't know. Um, so I'll take any other questions that you may have today pertaining to this subject matter. And again, guys, this is what I do each and every Monday. I come on at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. I share information for landlords and tenants, hopefully to positively impact the entire rental community. Okay. And then also, just by way of announcement, I do want to add that I am now preparing for a live online landlord boot camp. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have remarks, observations, or if you want more information about this boot camp, which is specifically for landlords, please email me. My email address is info@landlordlife.com. It's at the bottom of the screen. Please make sure that you are tuning in to me weekly at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter. And so thank you so much. If you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go over to the YouTube page, smash that subscription button, click that notification bell so that you'll know when I'm live and online. I do hope that this information has been helpful for you today. But I did want to share this. I wanted to share from a space where it's heartbreaking to have to talk about it, but I'll keep talking about it until I feel like it's making a difference. And so if you have subject matters that you would like for me to cover, please email me. I will definitely cover subject matters, whether it's landlord and or tenant related. Please email me. That is my email address at the bottom of your screen there. I'm Carissa, the landlord and tenant coach. It's been a pleasure having you on today. Um, Thank you for that, D. And I look forward to you all joining me next week. And I hope that if you found some value, if you find someone who needs to hear this information, please like, please tag, please share this information. Sharing is caring. My time is up. I thank you for yours. I'll see you all next Monday at 7:30 p.m. And listen, please be safe if you are in any area of the country that's been hit by a storm, which I am. Please be safe. I'll see you all next week.